According to legal experts, Jay-Z is attempting to silence Diddy following the recent lawsuit against him. Diddy was reportedly found weeping in his cell following the altercation and is concerned that someone may attempt to poison him. Additionally, Diddy has been accused of engaging in a fight while in prison.
Report from the Daily Mail, that's why Diddy had a breakdown. A person close to him apparently said, quote, spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him. If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, he eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it. This isn't the first time Diddy's mental health has come into question while he's been at MDC. When he first arrived, he was on suicide watch, which the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections describes as supervisory precautions taken for suicidal inmates that require frequent observation. Diddy's suicide watch was only temporary, though. He was housed in a special protective unit of the jail after that for the first few weeks of his stay. But Diddy right now is in Gen Pop, meaning general population, the place where majority of the inmates stay. And that's where he apparently had this meltdown over the holidays, at least according to one.
Diddy is purportedly back in protective custody following the attempted assassination, and he is attempting to avoid prison food due to his belief that there are individuals who are out to harm him. It is crucial to remember that this is the same detention center where Jeffrey Epstein is alleged to have committed the suit, so who knows what could happen. Diddy has been attempting to secure parole for nearly 6 months due to his fear of the potential consequences of imprisonment. As a result, he is unable to be released into the general population.
But going back to Cardella Smith's filing, his notice says that Jennifer Lynn Lopez, aka J-Lo, aka Jenny from the Block, quote, will be called as a material witness and expert to Sean Combs' viewing, possession, and distribution of his sexual assault upon the plaintiff in 1997 and the orders of defendant Sean Combs forcing Jennifer Lopez to remain silent about the videotaped sexual assault of plaintiff by defendant. Plaintiff states that the material witness Jennifer Lynn Lopez, also known as J-Lo and Jenny from the Block, was engaged in a relationship with the defendant Sean Combs during 1999 and 2001, and that the sexual assault of the plaintiff was recorded, distributed, and held by the defendant at his New York residence and recording studio. And during the relationship with Jennifer Lopez, she was made privy to this video that was taken by Sean Combs and his employee Kirk Burrows. She, J-Lo, has known this video existed and was in existence and took no action to make it known to anyone in law enforcement, and that she was even questioned by New York Police Detective Derek Palmer about this matter, and that the report will show that her answers to this tape was and still remains a resounding yes to its existence. And again, Cardella Smith writes that he wants to call Officer Derek Palmer as a witness because he says Palmer is the one who questioned Lopez and believes that he will have testimony that could help his case. As I mentioned, Diddy's legal team has called for this entire case to be thrown out. Cardella Smith has filed a massive response to that request that totaled more than 200 pages. Probably half of it was just straight up copies of case law that seems to support his arguments, word for word. It's something out of like a legal textbook. There's so much to slog through, but I kind of want to give you some of the highlights. So first, in addition to the claims of rape and a cover-up, Cardella Smith also claims and alleges that Combs was violent towards his loved ones. At times, Cardella Smith addresses alleged threats against his family. Other times, he says Combs actually caused serious injuries to his brother. His response reads, defendant used threats of murder to force the plaintiff to not bring the case to any court of law enforcement until the homes of the defendant were raided by Homeland Security, that the plaintiff knew it was a safe time to bring the case, and that is why we are here at this juncture. And Cardella Smith argued that fear for his own safety and the safety of his family is one of the main reasons that he waited so long to report the alleged rape, and says that that reason alone should override any issue with this statute of limitations, that these claims might otherwise be time barred. And he also argues that while he's been in prison, fellow inmates and prison guards.
The case against Diddy continues to deteriorate. Jennifer Lopez has been designated as a material witness against Sean Combs and will be summoned to depose regarding the events she witnessed. Diddy's involvement with J-Lo at this time could result in her going down with him. She is determined to achieve this in any way possible. According to reports, all individuals who secretly recorded Diddy are now out to get him. If Diddy decides to cooperate with the federal government, Some of the most influential individuals in the country will be implicated.
Makes sense, but you knowing Diddy personally, do you think it's possible he might take his life?
It takes a certain individual to prepare himself to do a lot of years in jail. From the lifestyle that he had, I'm not saying that he can't. I just don't see him able to do time behind bars. Maybe if he be in a camp type situation, that's a possibility. But based on the lifestyle and what he's done and what he's accomplished, if he had to go behind those bars for a lot of years, I think that he may commit suicide. He'd do an Epstein.
Why do you think he'd pull a Russell Simmons and leave the country?
They was watching him, bruh. They was watching him. And then I think that he had to turn over his passport. Even if you own your own private jet, they have a system up there whereas that they supposed to check your passport and anything that you need to fly as if you were flying commercial.
Diddy's attorneys are currently attempting to persuade him to accept a plea bargain as the volume of evidence that has been gathered against him is simply too substantial to ignore. Diddy has already admitted to engaging in unlawful activities at his parties. As evidence, over 50 witnesses and hundreds of hours of footage from Diddy's Miami mansion have been presented. Criminal defense attorneys have stated that Diddy's sole alternative at this time is to confess.
A $50 million bond, co-signed by him, his mom, his sister, the mother of his oldest daughter, and his 3 adult sons. It's going to be secured by the equity in his property in Miami, Florida. Home detention, his passport will be surrendered. The government said that's insufficient. They said, look at the charges, look at the weight of the evidence that I just mentioned. They said they have allegations that he and his associates were trying to tamper with witness testimony last year so that they wouldn't cooperate with the government. What do you take away about who has the stronger argument in terms of bail?
Well, I think his counsel has done the best they possibly can. I think bringing him there voluntarily is very smart, starts them out on the right foot. But I think the last thing that you just mentioned, the interfering with witnesses.
That's the allegation, yeah.
Yeah, if that's true, or I should say, if there's real indicia that happened, I think that might tip the scales in favor of not letting him out pending trial, because I think, and you know this, I think judges take an extraordinarily dim view of that. And that might be the factor that tips the scale against him. But I think as far as a tactic, I think it was very smart to do what they did and to say, look, you know, he's here. You didn't have to track him down. He's got a real defense here. He's doing everything right, at least right now. I'm not.
Sources close to Diddy express concern that he may be at genuine risk of self-harm. As someone unaccustomed to the harsh realities of prison life, Diddy is acutely aware of the grim reputation child offenders face behind bars. His once thriving business empire has crumbled, and none of his powerful industry connections have stepped in to support him. Reports suggest even Diddy's family has stopped visiting him, further isolating the music mogul. At his most recent bail hearing, Diddy appeared visibly frail, fueling speculation that prison life is taking a severe toll. His recent emotional breakdown is seen as a clear indication that he is reaching his breaking point. The legal cases against Diddy and his alleged co-conspirators continue to pile up. Jay-Z and Jennifer Lopez are among the first high-profile celebrities to be implicated, and according to former federal prosecutors, more names are likely to surface as the investigation unfolds. If Diddy decides to cooperate with authorities and confesses, the fallout could result in numerous other individuals facing serious legal consequences, potentially shaking the entertainment industry to its core.
That the judge was going to allow him to be bonded out on the first get-go. Now, if he comes up with some more hearings, he might be released. But based on the evidence, they've been following him, bro. They've been tapping his phone, been having people watch him. You understand? He been coming back and forth from New York, and he don't usually be coming back to New York. And somebody was telling me that, yo, listen here, yo, he trying to get witnesses. Remember when they released that first thing of Cassie, and I said that Diddy was trying to contact people for character witnesses, people for who he had problems with before, whatever like that, and trying to talk to them in the whole 9 yards. That's when they dropped that thing with Cassie. The Homeland Security had some agency or whatever like that that deals with that, dropped that thing on Cassie to show everybody, oh, y'all want to help him? Y'all, this is what y'all want to help? This is who y'all want to, say that he ain't never did nothing. This is what you want to put your brand on? And everybody started backing up from it. Everybody was talking about, yo, man, Cassie was a gold digger. Cassie was this, that, and the third. She loved it in the whole 9 yards. And then when they seen that, all his friends or so-called friends, went away. So him not having a bond is not surprising.
Yeah, and he offered them $50 million, and they still denied his bond.
He should have waited to see what they was going to offer. Because if he got $50 million to get him and offer that, then they think like, yo, that's too little.
Jay-Z, whose net worth exceeds $1 billion and whose business empire is closely tied to Beyoncé, is now facing allegations alongside Diddy. Reports claim that Beyoncé was aware of Jay-Z and Diddy's alleged activities and was even spotted alongside Jay-Z at one of Diddy's infamous freak-off parties. Jay-Z's legal team argues that the case is too old to pursue and should be dismissed. However, Judge Annalisa Torres has ruled that the case will proceed, ensuring that the allegations will be thoroughly examined in court.
Now you're wondering why I'm saying that. See, they are trying to use some of the things that happen to criminals all the time, or inmates all the time. They always, brother, they always do those impromptu searches. And in one of the cases, in this particular case, they said that when they did the impromptu search, well, they took some of his legal information, and the judge ordered them to give that back. So I guess the lawyers are going to come up with a couple of new things saying that he can't properly, have his case be properly, what do you call it when they client get they client and lawyer privileges. He can't properly do his case with, you understand, with them constantly going into jail cells, searching him, taking his legal briefs, taking his information, and then probably using it against him. But I don't believe none of that to be true. I believe that they went in there just like they do all the other inmates based on the information they had. You got to realize this, bro. They found out that Diddy was using other inmates' phone cards. Now that probably happens all the time. You understand? And he got to be probably the smartest, dumbest person that I know, because he got to know that those phone calls are being taped. So whatever his lawyers them come up with, the prosecution's gonna come up with something else. So the judge is gonna wanna know, well, what did they do, when they found out he was in violations of some of this stuff that he was doing? Did they charge him with something new? Did they take some of his privileges away. What has happened in the interim of him doing the stuff that they alleged that he done? So it's going to be a whole forestry of next week, because what they did was they held off whatever the procedures was going to go down today. The judge said he's going to revisit this next week. So I guess, I don't know if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll find out what's going on. But it's going to be something that I think it may.
Recently, another case has been filed against Diddy, alleging that he assaulted 3 individuals in the early 2000s. This case mirrors the same pattern seen in previous allegations, suggesting that these incidents were less about sexual attraction and more about asserting dominance. Diddy allegedly sought to exert control and instill a sense of powerlessness in his victims, further complicating his legal battles.
Aspiring young artists in the music industry, and then these parties were sponsored by Motown Records CEO, Universal Records CEO. This goes all the way to the top. And so you get these people in compromising situations. The drinks were laced, the videotapes were hot, and then at the end of the day, you wake up the next morning, what did I do? And then they have compromising material on you. And then they can guide your career, they could kill your career, but they got you. And it wasn't just people in the music business. As you said, there were athletes, there were celebrities, there were politicians, people from the royal family. And we were also told by the former bodyguard that Diddy was an FBI informant. So he was a snitch and was feeding information to the feds. And we don't know what that means. We haven't been able to confirm it, but even Little Rod said it's not just like Epstein. It could be worse than Jeffrey Epstein.
One of Diddy's alleged victims has come forward on camera, detailing their experience and shedding light on how Diddy's notorious parties allegedly operated. Their testimony suggests that Diddy was not acting alone, as those in his circle reportedly witnessed these events but chose to remain silent. Shockingly, it's claimed that Diddy would sometimes instruct his security personnel to assault victims while he watched, raising further concerns about the complicity of others in these disturbing allegations.
Breaking news right now, Larry. I am just getting word. People magazine says it's got a source on the inside that tells them that P. Diddy's on suicide watch tonight. Do your sources confer the same information? Are they saying it was possible?
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the SHU have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on suicide watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there, he was like an overnight guest. When they pulled his bond hearing, now they checked him into the system, and reality has hit him. And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on suicide watch. Another error that I guess some warden told you this. There are sentenced inmates there. They're called cadre inmates. They don't have to be white collar inmates, but they're doing maintenance on the building. And the problem, why there's a lot of violence there, they have housing units. And they're mixing bank robbers, drug dealers, rapists with white collar people. And this is why Diddy, he can't go into a regular housing unit because somebody will take him out for sure. Somebody's gonna get a lot of street credibility out of this. People that are doing substantial time that know they're never getting out. They'll just kill the guy. No questions asked.
You think that they'd suck up to him because he's got a lot of money, and if he ever does get the commissary options, he would be able to help them.
Some people do. Because
I gotta wrap it real quick.
Okay, some people do think that Diddy can help them, but this guy's going to be locked up forever. His case will probably take at least 3 years to litigate. He'll stay at MDC. There's rumors that he wants to go to Essex County Jail in New Jersey because he doesn't like MDC. He's a Marshals inmate. There's no way they're going to transfer him back and forth, I don't know, several times a week 6 marshals to do it.
Jersey.
He's out of luck.
Gene Deal, a close associate of Diddy, has stated that the music mogul isn't likely to leave prison anytime soon. Allegedly, Diddy recorded incriminating footage of numerous individuals at his infamous parties, and this material is now in the hands of the FBI. If Diddy decides to cooperate and expose others, it could lead to the downfall of several major shockwaves, disrupt multiple industries.
Start with Tania Wallace, who claims she's been at a freak off and said she saw children, and it was hard for her to say it.
It was very hard for her to say it, Ashley. So what she said was that she was flown out from LA to Miami by the Saudi prince. And they ended up eventually on Star Island at one of Diddy's parties. She says, you know, among many other things, I mean, she goes into detail. This, she says, happened in 2018. She says that she walked into the house and there was a cluster of adults around what she described as little people. And they were dressed up as Japanese Barbies. I forgot the name. It's harrowing something. You can help me out here. It's a certain type of Barbie. Anyway.
I know the name, but I've forgotten it. But go ahead.
So she explained that that they were just clustered around these little people, and I kept pushing her, and she eventually said, look, they are little people who should not be at an adult party. And I pushed her, and it was apparent what she was saying is they were minors. Now, she didn't see anything specific that was going on with them other than that adults were kind of huddled around them. But she told just a wild story about what was going on at the house, even at 7 a.m, that this thing apparently raged all night long.
You know, it's amazing. TMZ always gets such great scoops, and this one might be one of your best as well. You got a hold of one of the Freak Off tapes. Your producers have seen it. The description is, and I'll quote, "It's porn directed by Diddy himself." And a male sex worker really sort of walks through what happened in the experiences that he had. They didn't sound illegal, but they sure seem to comport with a lot of the other stories that have been told.
Yeah. So the this was a threesome. What you would ask me about earlier about Tania Wallace, she said there were more than 100 people at that party, including at least 4 celebrities. But this, what you're talking about now, was a threesome, and that's something that the U.S. attorney even referenced. And his lawyer in an earlier documentary we did, he was describing threesomes. He says it was all consensual. So yes, what we're told is that this male sex worker was flown out to various locations over a couple of years: Miami, New York, Los Angeles, and one other. And they would meet in hotel rooms, and Diddy would often watch as he would have sex with this woman who was associated with Diddy. So that seems to be what the feds are looking at right now in terms of alleged sex trafficking, if they are transporting somebody and perhaps paying them to cross state lines. That could end up being part of sex trafficking. We know that this guy got a subpoena, and he ended up not testifying before the grand jury, but talking to prosecutors, and we're told that he left that tape with them.